Good morning, Ron's TV Vlog po, at ngayong umaga ay pupunta tayo sa Clark Airport, Mabalacat, Pampanga. Naimbitahan po tayo ng Department of Transportation and Railways na pinangunahan po ni Secretary Arthur Tugade. And 2 days before the activity ay sumailalim po tayo sa RT-PCR swab test. Kailangan natin ng negative result para po sa aktibidad na ating pupuntahan. And another antigen test naman as of now para po sa mismong araw ng activity. Kailangan po ito. Kailangan din ay negative po talaga ang lahat ng dadalo dito. And thanks God, lahat naman po kami na magkakasama ay negative result. Ayan, at pinababa na po tayo ng sasakyan under the advice of doctor na mga nag-test sa atin. And finally, ito matutunghayan po natin mamaya yung mismong pagkukonstruction doon po sa underground station dito po sa Clark Airport. And yung groundbreaking, and also mamaya tabayanan po natin yung question and answer na may press con po sila mamaya para yung mga gusto po nating malaman ay makita po natin, maintindihan po natin yung kanilang mga sasabihin mamaya. Okay, ito po yung mismong location ng underground train station dito po sa Clark International Airport. Ito po nga pala ay pinangungunahan ng DOTR, JICA, ADB at Embassy of Japan sa ongoing construction po ngayon dito sa PNR Clark Phase 2. Itong Malolos to PNR Clark Phase 2 ay mayroong 53 kilometer rail at ito po ay kukonekta sa Region 3 sa Metro Manila at mayroong 6 po na istasyon na gagawin po rito. Ito nga po yung mga sa lugar ng Kalumpit, Apalit, San Fernando, Angeles, Clark at Clark International Airport. Ito nga po mismo yun, yung ginagawang underground train station. Itong PNR Clark Phase 2 ay bahagi ng Massive North-South Commuter Railway or NSCR na may habang 147 kilometro at mayroong 35 stations. Mayroon din itong 464 train cars na may 58 car train sets kabilang ang 7 airport express train. Yan po ang ating aabangan po dito. At excited po tayong lahat dito sa project na ito. Kung dati-rati ay kapag binabiyahe natin ng Malolos to Clark ay may aabot ito ng 1 to 2 hours. Pero pag natapos ito magiging 35 minutes na lang. Okay, ito na po tayo ngayon sa press conference. Naririto na po sa ating harapan ang mga opisyales o representative from DOTR, JICA, ADB at Embassy of Japan upang maliwanagan po natin yung kanilang mga ibabahagi ukol sa proyektong ito.
The event this morning. Okay, first question is directed to ADB Country Director Caliber. First question is, how would you compare this project with other big-ticket infrastructure projects which ADB has financed before in terms of length of preparation from feasibility study to actual shoveling?
Thank you very much for the question. So if I sum up the performance of this project, first of all, it's the largest project that ADB has prepared, not only for the Philippines, but across our entire member countries. And in terms of speed, from feasibility to say ADB approval, it was done in record time. You know, when we think about it, working with DOTR and the government of Japan, from feasibility to approval was approximately 18 months. And for a large, complex project like that, like this one, that's a huge, that's a very fast time in processing a project. Equally fast is being able to make the awards to the contract about 12 months later. Typically, And why that was possible, because this project was, you know, procurement ready at the time it was approved. So it allowed us to work with DOTR for them to fast track the bidding process and the signing of the contracts. And they were all signed October of last year, and then early this year the firms were mobilized. So that's incredibly fast, and we've been very proud to be able to be part of this successful project.
Okay, thank you. But there's a follow-up question for you, Kelly. How will this project contribute to the country's economic recovery from the pandemic?
Okay, so from our own analysis, you know, as I mentioned earlier, a $1 billion investment in rail project leads to about $1.5 billion in additional income to the country. So this project is going to be incredibly important to the economic recovery, and particularly in this region. So you can imagine, you know, you've got a lot of employment that's being created, a lot of supplier contracts. So there's the direct effects, and then there's the indirect effects. You know, the second round effects of creating new income opportunities for the region. And then when the project is completed, we've got all that massive transport of passengers to and from Clark. So it's going to be very important for economic recovery, but also long-term economic opportunities to the region.
Thank you very much, ADB Country Director Kelly Bird. Okay, the next questions are for JICA Chief Representative Igo Azukisawa. Question from media is, number one, how do you feel now that you are seeing massive developments in the projects you funded? And what do you think motivates Japan to pour in a huge amount of effort and financial assistance to fund the Philippines Build program?
Yes, thank you very much. And as the JICA Chief Representative, I feel very much honored to be participating in this Build program, especially this. I think this is the flagship project for the Philippine government, and as Japan and the Philippines in a relationship of we call it a strategic partnership country. And so this is the kind of the symbol of that partnership, and the JICA is very happy that we are participating in this project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, JICA Chief Representative Igo Azukisawa. Next question is for DOTR Undersecretary Lopez or Yusek Batan. Oh, this one is for Yusek TJ Batan. Okay. More than 90% of the funds for capital outlay proposed by the DOTR to Congress is allotted for railway projects. Why is that?
That's correct that more than 90% of the capital outlay for 2022 is for rail projects. And that's because we are catching up. In 2019, the World Bank did a survey of 119 countries in terms of railway infrastructure. And the Philippines did not just rank at the bottom, the Philippines ranked last. We are the 119th out of 119 countries in terms of railway infrastructure. And that's because we have underinvested. We have not been able to implement rail projects for such a long time. And that's not because we didn't want to, because we've always known that we needed to. This project, for example, the North Rail project, as it was formerly called, was initiated in 1994. The subway project was first thought of in 1973. The LRT-1 Cavite Extension project was approved in the year 2000. The MRT-7 project was submitted in 2001. So we have always known that we need railway projects to avoid the situation that we found ourselves in 2016. And what was that situation? That situation, numerically, was 3.5 billion pesos per day in lost economic productivity. That number is more than twice, that's 240% of total foreign direct investments in 2019 lost. That's 10% of the total capitalization of the stock exchange lost. That's 9% of gross domestic product in 2019 lost. So why do we have to make this investment? Because we need to. We've needed to for the last 2-3 decades. And rail is simply the most efficient form of land transport. The North-South Commuter Rail will see our first 8-car train set. So that's why each of our stations are really long. This station is 250 meters long because our first fleet will consist of 8 cars, but we have designed the entire system for 10 cars. And what does that mean? That means that for each and every train that arrives, we can fit the equivalent of we can fit more than 2,500 people, which is the equivalent of 800 cars. So just imagine the potential for every train that comes, you remove almost 800 cars from the road, the decongestion effect of this investment, lightening up mobility by this investment. And again, to answer the question, we need this investment to catch up. We needed to make this investment for the last 2 to 3 decades. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Secretary Tugade is the 25th Transport Secretary since North Rail was thought of. It's 25 Transport Secretaries, and only now, what we've been trying to do, what we've known we needed to do over 27 years, Secretary Tugade is making a reality in the last 5 years.
Thank you very much for that answer, Yusek TJ Batan. Next question is for Yusek Giovanni Lopez. Sir, you mentioned in Secretary Tugade's speech the aspect of employment. How many jobs were generated by the North-South Commuter Railway and the PNR Clark? Has this helped local residents and displaced OFWs in terms of providing employment?
Thank you, Asek Gades. As per discussion with Yusek TJ, and Yusek TJ can correct me, I think the entire NSCR project will create and provide 25,000 jobs. Ganun po kalaki yan. But for PNR Clark Phase 2 alone, I think it will create 7,000 jobs. This is a direct employment. We're not even counting the indirect and employment and other opportunities. But what I want to emphasize and what I want to reiterate is the instruction of Secretary Tugade, especially to rail sectors and our private partners or contractors. For employment opportunities for this kind of projects, the Secretary wants that the OFW, the local workers, and especially those affected by COVID-19 pandemic, to be prioritized for this employment. I think that is what is more important. And again, the Secretary reiterates his instruction not only to the rail sector but also to our private contractors. So far po, I think they're doing that. As we witnessed a while ago, we have OFWs already employed by this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Lopez. Next question will be from Ms. Von Aquino of GMA 7.
Good morning, everyone. This question is for Yusek TJ Batan. Sir, given the challenges of this pandemic, when do we expect the NSCR to be at least partially operational or fully operational? Thank you.
For the North-South Commuter Railway, we will be partially operational by 2023. But what's more interesting is that we will be fully operational for Clark Phase 1 and Clark Phase 2 in 2024. Now, that's very interesting. Why? We started construction of PNR Clark Phase 1 in January of 2019. We started construction of PNR Clark Phase 2 in the fourth quarter of 2020. So you see there around a 24-year difference. And yet, because of the programming innovation that we've done together with GM June Magno of the PNR, we were able to program Clark Phase 2 to finish within the same year as Clark Phase 1 operational by 2024. So this is the Manila-Clark segment, the northern segment. The southern segment, of course, that's another 56 kilometers with 19 stations up to Calamba. That's a program to be partially operational by 2025 and fully operational by 2028. Now, we are very confident with the South also because, as mentioned earlier, just in July, 2 months ago, we closed the tender. We had bidding for the first 6 contract packages in the South. We received 34 bids from 17 companies from 7 countries plus the Philippines, and we are about to finish bid evaluation and submit that to the Asian Development Bank for concurrence, and we are very confident that we will get those contractors on board in the next few months and similarly accelerate the speed for the South as we have done in the North.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek TJ. The next question is from Paul of SMNI.
Good morning po. Si Yusek, bata na lang siguro. Para dito sa project natin sa Phase 2, or pwede niyo po ba kaming bahinan kung magkano yung cost natin, or the overall na lang po sa projects natin dito sa NSCR, Yusek?
Total project cost natin for the entire NSCR, that's sa PNR Clark Phase 1, PNR Clark Phase 2, and PNR Calamba is 777.55 billion. As mentioned earlier, this is the single largest project of the Asian Development Bank with more than $7 billion, soon to be, more than $7 billion in commitment. Before the Philippines, if I may, Kelly, before the Philippines in 2016, the single largest project of the ADB was a $1.5 billion railway project in Bangladesh. When they started working with us in 2019, initially they committed $2.7 billion for Phase 2, and we are currently working on the next tranche of $4.3 billion for PNR Calamba. Now, this is also the longest commuter railway project of JICA. So again, record-breaking so many fronts. And I would just like to highlight this, and perhaps ADB and JICA can comment. It's not easy. You don't knock on the doors of ADB and JICA and then they give you tens of billions of US dollars. It's not easy to get the trust, the confidence of the development lenders, of the development community to devote this much resources for the developmental needs of any country. And this is one of the things that Secretary Tugade has really been working on in the last 5 years. Doing things in a manner that will gain the confidence, the trust of our development partners so that we can build the projects that we need to build.
Yusek, follow-up na po, ma'am. Nabanggit po na pag natapos na ang project na ito, ay magkakaroon din tayo ng tinatawag na first ever airport express. Could you enlighten us, Yusek? Anong ibig sabihin yan? Paano yan maisa sa katuparan? Sino-sino makikinabang dyan? Go ahead, Yusek.
That's correct. The North-South Commuter Railway will have the first airport express service for the country from Clark International Airport Station, from here, from CRK Station, all the way to Makati Station, just south of Buendia. We are targeting a travel time of 55 minutes. That's non-stop with its own fleet of trains. So we have 2 types of trains. We will have the commuter trains, the usual ones. We will have 54 of that. And we will have 7 airport express train sets. So these are fast trains. It will run at an average of 160 kilometers per hour compared to 120 for the commuter trains. And again, the objective is to link this massive investment behind us to the center of our capital.
Pero ang mangyayari niyan, Yusek, parang maging alternative siya na transport service. Kasi syempre may mga buses pa rin tayo, may mga other public utility vehicles pa rin tayo, right?
Of course, yes. Part of the North-South commute, part of the NSCR planning is integration, joint planning with the road sector. We rationalize the land routes to coincide para maging tugma doon sa mga stations natin, doon sa mga services natin, para maging complementary yung services ng buong transport network natin and not fragmented.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last one. Okay, last question. This is for Yusek Bani Lopez. Yusek Lopez, sorry we have to ask this. We have heard the President speak. We have seen and heard the senatorial slate of PDP Laban. Is Secretary TUGADE running?
Naku po, Asik, napakahirap po ng katanungan mo. Tulad ka ng asawa ko, nang hirap magtanong. At anyway, let me answer this in the best way I could and the most honest way I know. You know, the Secretary, of course, the Secretary always says that he's humbled by the nomination. No? There's no questions on the competence, integrity, of course, the capability of the Secretary. But you know, the Secretary has never been into politics. That's why most of the time, when I ask the same question to the Secretary, you know, his answer is that he will just entrust his fate and destiny to the Lord. Ipapasa Diyos niya na lang po ang magiging destiny niya. But you know, that's why if it is not too much to ask din po sa inyo, maybe we could include him sa panalangin natin, sa dasal natin, for him to make the right decision. No? But then again, it's so hard for a secretary na to, you know, to basically say no to the president. So I think let's just wait and see. But the most important thing right now is that despite these nominations and everything, the secretary continues to work because of bill, like this one.
Okay, Yusek TJ, you want to add anything? Yes?
May update lang po sana. Good news lang for update by AGM Ces Lauta from PNP.
Yes, AGM.
Our first train will be coming in December 2021. So our E&M contractor po will install our first set of trucks where our new trains will sit in. So it is a reality na po and the new trains are coming in. Hindi na po, it's not just a dream, this is a reality. Maraming salamat.
Okay. So that concludes our question and answer segment for today's event.